5 creepy horror stories. Number 1. Drive-through ghost. I was working at a McDonald's at the time where this event took place. It was summer of 2016 and I started a summer job at my local McDonald's, just a mile away from my house. It isn't always so bad, right? Since given the thought of being in that small town, it doesn't take that long to get back and forth to something. Anyway, let me tell you a bit about myself. My name is Chris and I am 21 years old and I live in a small town in Ohio. It's very quiet here and not a lot of crime takes place in this town, so given that this story took place is very rare. It might not be a real case of a crime, but at least it's something. Our town is so innocent, there's not really even a newspaper. If I ever hear anything about a newspaper, it's mostly just stuff about the town having bingo on Monday nights by the community center, or free ice cream at the downtown parlor, or horseshoe tournaments and other events that happen on various weekends, etc. Anyway, let me get to the story. It was a hot summer Tuesday afternoon, and I was waiting for my schedule to pop up on my phone and my boss to text me about something, like if my schedule changes or something. My boss David texted me and told me to come in later tonight to work a night shift. I didn't really like the night shift, given that I never worked a night shift, and given that this was my first job, I was kind of on edge, but I brushed it off and I was kind of curious about this new journey, so I decided to grow some balls and come in and turn my night shift. So working this night shift, I was 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. The night was kind of slow and all the other workers were just playing on their phone, talking to friends, texting, the typical teenage thing. I don't want to get you on the wrong foot, but there wasn't a lot of people working that night, and it was just me, Emily, and Brad. Brad was taking orders in the drive-thru, and me and Emily were cooking most of the food for various customers that come in every hour and 30 minutes, etc. I'm telling you, this night was pretty dead. David told us it's okay if you get bored, just keep a good eye on everything. Fill out ketchup dispensers, clean the tables, sweep the floor, and keep a good eye out so you won't miss a customer's order. Well, I told David I'm right there at the register until 3, so I'm really not going anywhere soon besides going to the bathroom or something. That night went on as uneventful, and as usual, when I started to fall asleep, as Brad was staring at me, yet he looked at me and told me to wake up, yelling across the room. I said, "Not funny, Brad," as Brad had a smirk on his face, saying, "I'm just pulling your leg." I brushed it off as I tried to fall back to sleep because I was so tired. Before I did that, I was looking to make sure any business wasn't coming or was coming in all directions. A customer was coming, but I was wrong. It was so damn boring. I just wanted to get home, and I was really tired because I did not get sleep the night before. I did not remember anything else as I fell asleep for about a good 30 minutes until Chris scared the living shit out of me, telling me that there's something going on in that drive-thru. He said he had to go pee, but Emily knocked on his bathroom door and told him that somebody was at the drive-thru placing an order, but no one was there. Chris did the rest of his business, then rushed out of the bathroom door, apologizing for his irresponsible actions, as he told the person in the drive-thru he had to use the restroom real quick. But he said what would you like to order? But there was no answer. And Chris looked at the video camera that shows the outside of the drive-thru, and he could not see that no one was there. He said hello to the person in the drive-thru, but the person did not answer. He waited for about a good 3 minutes. Chris got fed up and was telling me that he was going across the street to get some cigarettes and have a smoke break by the side of the restaurant afterwards. I wasn't really capable of knowing how to take commands at the drive-thru, but I thought I would give it a shot, and I was waiting for something to happen, but nothing. There was nobody coming inside of the drive-thru or inside of the restaurant, and I was kind of getting on edge that I felt like someone was watching me, but I looked in all of my directions and I did not see anything. So now it was just me and Emily for the next, I would say, a good 15 or 20 minutes, and me and Emily started to have a chat where we were having small talk like, how was your day and how do you like this job so far, etc. until we heard a buzzing at the drive-thru headset, as with a green light flickering on the side of the headset. I ran to it immediately, taking the person's order, but I saw nothing. And as I said hello, I heard a raspy voice say, "Die." I looked at the surveillance video of the drive-thru, and I saw a man dressed in all black with a black hat. I mean, he was dressed from black to the knee down. But the one thing that is so chilling was his eyes. Yes, they were like poking out of his sockets and staring directly at me. I mean, I cannot describe how chilling it was. His eyes were so white and so big. I turned my head to Emily, saying, "There's a creepy man outside." And she said, "You should call the police," but when I turned back to see the camera showing outside, no one was there. I called the police, but there was nothing they could really do, as I just said that there was a creepy man standing outside, and he was just staring at the video camera saying, "Die." Yes, that is a big serious threat, but if the man did not do any harm, why should they press charges on him? But what the creepy thing was, there was no trace of anybody being in that drive-thru in the video ever. We looked at the entire footage from zero to the end. Nothing. I told my boss David that I would really not like to do the night shift anymore. Even if it's from morning to noon, anything is better than 9 to 3, because like my mom and grandma said, nothing ever good happens after midnight. And that is when the story took place, and let's just say I didn't ever do the night shift again. Number 2, The Highway Nightmare. This was the most terrifying night I have honestly experienced in my whole entire life. My name is Stella and I am 25 years old. So this story took place near Christmas of 2015. So I was going to a party as one of my friends had a birthday a few days ago, so we kind of felt bad that we didn't do a party for him. For my friend Jake. So I texted all my friends Jake, Brittany, Sam, Courtney, Amanda, and Lucas, and told all of them that we could all meet up at Chili's and, catch up and have a few drinks, cut up, and have a good time, catch up on things. So we decided to eat at dinner and have a little party at Chili's on one cold December evening. I lived a long way from the city. I live in a lot of back roads and where there's just mostly a couple trees and tons of cornfields and farmlands, and given that this was in the middle of nowhere, I lived in a very old house with my grandmother. She is 93 years old, and she doesn't really like me staying out late at night. She worries about me a lot, but she mellowed out and softened up for me to go to this party, and she locked all the doors before I went. I told her to be careful. She softened up, and she let me go to the party to see these friends. I haven't seen them in a few years, hell, since high school. I don't come across as intimidating as my size, as I'm a very petite. Yet, let me give you a good piece of the pie on what happened to me on the way to this birthday party. So I was driving on the highway, fixing to get on the hill in this long interstate. Now, I can't remember the number or the name of this interstate, but all I remember is it was really dark outside, and there was hardly any street lights surrounding me with at least a little bit of light to help me navigate the route. But I did have my bright headlights, so that kind of worked. My phone was on 100% charge, and I had my phone on me just in case I was in an emergency, and I am glad I did. I was about 20 miles away, yeah, I know, right, from the party, and I was just driving along, and I was kind of getting a bit on edge because I did not see any cars for miles on the stretch of road. I mean, I know it's the interstate late at night, but at least I could see 30 cars coming towards me and coming the opposite way from me. I did not see any cars or any lights. It was just a dark stretch of nothingness with no light at all. But to my side, I saw in my rearview mirror a green van hauling ass towards my bumper. He wasn't even inches before he hit me, just a little bit as I gained up my speed, but he was still following me. Luckily, he wasn't right on my tail, but I was wrong, as he was getting closer and closer to my bumper once again. But I don't know why this dude was on my tail, this whole time, as he was staring as he was starting to flick me off and cuss out loud, rolling the window down and telling me to stop the car and honking his horn like a madman. I thought this dude was out of his mind, which I wasn't too far from the thought. I was praying to Jesus as I hit 50 miles per hour, and I was really ready for this car to haul ass itself, because this car is not providing me with any speed, and I was on the edge of having my life killed at that moment. I thought I was going to die that night. This guy was throwing things at my car. I thought he threw a rock, because my back of my windshield almost broke. I was trying to find some road on the side where I could turn just to lose him real quick, but it was no good. I thought I would just keep going and maybe he would give up at some point, but then I had an idea. It wasn't really smart, but I did it anyway. I pulled over to see what the man wanted. I locked my car doors and stayed in the car, which was the best idea ever at the situation. The man got out of his car and ran immediately up to my window, knocking it. As I rolled it down, he put his face right into mine and said, "Open this damn car before I chokeslam you." I rolled the window up as his hand was still halfway between the inside of my car and the outside of my car. As his hand crushed as I rolled the window up, he screamed in pain as I rolled it back down. He put his hand out of the car and ran to his car, got in, and floored it back onto the interstate, but he was still following me once again. It seemed like hours before I got to at least a little bit of civilization. But to my glory, a state trooper was on the side of the road. As he saw what was going on, he thought it was probably a Daytona 500, which in his mind thought of just two kids racing on a lonely night. Nothing else to do in the middle of nowhere but to see who gets to the finish line. He tried to follow us and the man that was following me in the green van. The green van suddenly slowed down tremendously as the state trooper stopped the car, and I stopped the car too. The state trooper got out of his car too, come to my car to talk to me. I gave him his license and registration and told him everything, and told him I was fixing to call a cop that was nearby or something, because that man was trying to follow me. The police officer was a very nice guy and helped me out a lot, and he told me to drive safely, and he would follow me the rest of the way to Chili's in case something again happened with me and the stranger in the green van. Luckily, the green van was a long ways up a hill as fast as possible, trying to get away from the evidence. I thanked the police officer when I got to Chili's as he told me have a nice night, and drove off. I hugged my friends immediately and told them everything about what happened, and they said, "Next time text us and tell us what's happening so we can get you immediately, or let one of us come to you, or just all of us drive together." And let me tell you, I will not drive at night ever again, unless it is a serious situation. Other than that, you will not see me drive on a lonesome dark interstate, or any other road at night, ever again. Number 3. This is the most terrifying story that rotted my childhood for decades. I try not to think about it as much, but as the years go on, it's hard not to forget. It just grows on you for some reason. So I was about 5 years old when this story took place, and I can remember it clear as day. It was beginning to be fall as the crisp air breezed past me on a calm autumn, and the calm autumn leaves shower across the emerald ground of green. With such a delightful autumn presentation, I was thrilled. You can probably tell that the story has very big vocabulary, but when I was 5 years old, I wasn't even close to having the proper skill to write the story or novel or whatever you want to call it. So me and my friends were at my grandma's house. We didn't have a reason to stay inside because my grandma always talks to us and tells us staying inside and being a couch potato all day is not good. And even in the summer, winter, spring, or any season, she wanted us to be active and have a full life possible, to enjoy life and enjoy nature and get a lot of fresh air because, life is really short. Now, saying that to a kid, you'll probably think that it's kind of harsh, but telling them that maybe tomorrow they will die. But it's not. But it's true because you really don't know when your time will come and what would happen. Trying to look out. And she was just trying to look out for us. I mean, she loved us. And she liked all of my friends. She thought that we were the berries. Always had fun with my grandma, picking apples and picking them in a basket by the apple tree, playing in the big yard that she provided, swinging on her porch swing, seeing how many cars that came by the interstate with colors they have on them and stuff like that, red car, blue car, just fun times. It was a pleasure knowing her, and the memories were so sweet as sugar, as those memories will never fade out of my mind. So it was one of those awesome days to never forget. Everything was going fine. Me and my grandma were picking apples by the apple tree. After that, we did a little bit of yard work, cut some limbs down the tree, and our friends were nice enough to help us. After that, we cooled off a little bit and got us some homemade glass of lemonade, because my grandma had a lemon tree in her backyard, and let me tell you, she made the best lemonade ever. After that, we decided to play hide and seek, because, I mean, why not? That's what kids do, right? We told our grandma that we could play hide and seek, and she said yes. And let me tell you, homemade lemonade and apple pie go good together after all that hard activity. Now, hide and seek might not be a hard activity or hard labor, but we were full and satisfied, and we had a little bit of energy left to just play at least one more game. And I miss those days of Grandma's sweet apple pie and lemonade, and I just wish I could have a last sip of lemonade and a last bite of apple pie one last time. So, anyway, let me tell you about the story, get to the real meat and potatoes of the story. Now, we were having a fun time, going into the woods and find the best place possible to hide. Behind a bush, hiding behind a rock, and it was just the best time of our lives. We had glow-in-the-dark swords, thinking that we were Star Wars, and we just had the best imagination that anyone could ever imagine. A child's dream. A child's gift, actually. So we were playing hide and seek as we were walking in the woods and decided to walk a little bit farther. I decided to walk a little bit farther than usual as one of my friends caught up and with what I was trying to do. Now, it was a girl named Maggie. Maggie was about 4 years old, and we were best friends. She liked me a lot, and honestly, we were kind of like boyfriend and girlfriend, but let's not talk about that. So anyway, she said that she can wait for me to run up the hill and hide while she counts to 10. Now, I hid up behind a rock about 200 yards away. Actually, she counted to 10, and she said, "Ready or not, here I come." Now, I wasn't really paying attention to Maggie's direction because I was facing straight to the way I ran up, so looking back was possible, but I said, no, I don't want that, because she would find me and see my head pop out. And if I look back to see her, So I just remained still. I didn't want Maggie to find me. But it grew on me all the time that passed by, like really quick at a swift pace. It kind of dawned on me after a while. I started to get tired as the apple pie and lemonade started to settle in my 5-year-old tummy. But I was kind of having some wits about me still from reality, but I was getting really sleepy. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes passed, an hour and 30 minutes passed, and about when an hour and 32 minutes came up, I sat up out of my spot, and I was sitting in. Now this was very, very bad, and it was starting to become a problem, because you would freak out if the same way if your friend went missing, and that's what I thought, that she went missing. I did not hear Maggie's voice. I started to yell out her name, but nothing. I did it 20, 30, or 50 times, and I started to become wearisome, if that's even a word, scared. I started to get unsettled, feeling like I was being watched, so I ran back up the hill to where my other friends were, and I saw all of them in the backyard of the house, calling my name. They were all yelling, "Sam! Sam! Sam!" I heard one of my friends, Stacy, who was 6, yell my name and Maggie's name as well. I immediately rushed up to them saying, "I'm so glad to see you." Well, they said the same thing, and I said, "Have you seen Maggie?" And all of them told me the same thing, "Have you seen Maggie?" With all of them crying, especially Stacy. She just wanted to hug me, so she wrapped her arms around me to hug me. After that, I said, "No, I have not seen Maggie, and it's been a little while. Do you think we should tell Grandma?" And that's what we did. As soon as we told our grandma, we began to freak out, telling us that we should stay inside for the rest of the day, and we should maybe call the police if we don't see or find Maggie. For the next hour, she began to panic, going out in the backyard, screaming, "Maggie, Maggie, Maggie," for 40 loving times. And for the ever-loving Christ of Maggie, Maggie could not be found. It was starting to begin to sunset. The sun began to set more and more, as I could just see that orange ball passing the shade, passing the trees. And soon enough, the stars were out upon us. Now, that's when we called the police. I know, right? It would have been smarter to call them earlier than 9 p.m. But we went inside of the woods. But they went inside of the woods, and they could not find nothing at all. They even went all the way up to the spot that I told them where I was hiding, and they couldn't find her. So me and Grandma and all my friends did not get any sleep that night for weeks and months, and sooner or later, it was a year later, as Maggie's parents and all of us were just kind of still devastated about it, really devastated, but in the state of mind, we couldn't really do anything about it. I mean, I was 5, what could I do? My grandmother said it wasn't my fault. I mean, could I be responsible for Maggie's disappearance? No, I would have to kill her, which I couldn't imagine doing something like that to Maggie or any of my friends. So let me tell you about one day. It wasn't long after the 1-year anniversary of Maggie's disappearance. I can tell you it was like 5 days later. Yeah, after the 1-year anniversary of Maggie's disappearance. And that's when... And I woke up one early morning. I woke up, got me a bowl of cereal, turned on the news at 6 a.m. to Eyewitness News, and it showed a devastating story that sent goosebumps all the way up to my spine. This chilled me to the bone. It said, a hunter that was hunting in the area finally saw a 1-year piece of this devastating fishy investigation as the body of a 5-year-old girl was found rotting and decaying in the Mayberry Creek this morning. My grandmother and all of us were in shock, and my grandma has never been the same ever since. She finally got dementia years later and couldn't talk because of how chilling the story was, but one thing that she could remember was Maggie. We finally had to put her in a psychiatric ward. She couldn't stop saying Maggie and kept hitting herself, saying that it was her fault, but really it should be me, and that would be in the crazy home because I was the one that forced Maggie to play hide and seek with me. That's why she went missing, because of me. But let's just say that I regret not looking back in the opposite direction where Maggie was coming towards me, because it might have saved her life. We didn't plan a funeral for her, but because what's the point of a decaying, rotten body with flies flying all around it? I mean, what can we do with that? Just cry over it and sing what a friend we have in Jesus to a skeleton, which is kind of mean to say, but it's really the truth. What can you do with a person that's already decaying? A funeral is pretty much uncommon at that situation, but we did have a memorial for her, which is pretty much like a funeral, holding candles and placing flowers at her grave. As police and all of the other investigators and authorities and other services of such made a grave for her and put her where she should be. Now, we all thought the worst pretty much happened, as it was probably a coyote that had its fair share of dinner. And let's just say that I never went in those woods to play hide and seek or walk in those woods for any other purpose without any adult supervision ever again. Now I am 25 years old, and 15 years later it will never leave my mind, and I need to contact all my old friends. They probably never really contact each other anymore, and they haven't really contacted me over the years either. Probably busy having a family, getting a job, graduating high school. Well, that was already the picture. But, you know, it was what I mean. They had to get on with their lives and forget about the past. But yet, I still stay in this little ball of the past, and I'll probably be the only one that will have the most guilt about it, because I felt like it was my fault, because there was really nothing I could do to save Maggie. I know Maggie isn't mad at me. I mean, it wasn't my fault for her to go missing. It was just life and how nature had to take its course. So I know that Maggie is gone. However, she will always remain in all of our hearts. Number 4. I was driving down the interstate and decided to pull over on an exit. I saw a truck stop at the fast food restaurant next to the gas station. You know, those pilot stations? So I was a truck driver for a lumber company, and I was driving for about 15 hours from Ohio to Maryland. I don't really know if it was exactly 15 hours, but let me tell you, it was the longest drive of my whole entire life or career of being a truck driver. I honestly love this business, and I would do anything for this business because I have worked here for over 30 years. So let me tell you, I am 42 years old. My name is Paul Clover, and I live in Arkansas. But I travel a long ways to various locations. A lot, actually. I don't really remember the last time I kissed my wife. I don't really remember the last time I even saw my kids or my grandkids, and I don't really remember hugging my man's best friend, my dog, my golden retriever, Polly. She was the sweetest girl, and I kind of wanted to take her with me, but to have a little trip with her. Probably, she's always by my side, and she's probably crying as I'm writing this because she misses me, and she probably cried when this event took place. So it was a small town that I was in. It was nighttime, so I don't really remember the town. That was probably just the middle of nowhere. It was exit 18 that I pulled off, and I looked in both directions, heading down the road at the pilot station. And I turned into the pilot station, turned my engine off, and I was deciding to call it a night after I take a shower at the truck stop and get me a burger and fries and soda and wash it down with a milkshake. I kind of gave myself a treat. I guess why not? For the heck of it. It was kind of a cold night, but I decided to hell with it. Just live a little. No, there were a couple trucks in the parking lot, but probably about 2 or 3. I mean, this was really the middle of nowhere. I didn't see cars for miles on that interstate as I was just patrolling the area. I got tired real quick, and let me tell you, I slept like a baby. I fell out like a light. Honestly. But only for 2 hours, as I heard a door to the window to my driver's side shattered as I set up immediately and ran to the window, seeing a dude pointing a gun inside of the truck at me as he said, "Get the hell out of here." As I said, "Get the hell out of here or I'm calling the police." But I saw one of the managers to the Pilot McDonald's as a young petite girl screaming, "Stop! Or I'm calling the police." She was on my same side, and what honestly shook me, and I could never ever get this out of my human mind. The dude pulled the trigger and shot the girl in the chest, blood flowing out of her mouth as she disintegrated onto the ground. I could hear a couple bones breaking at that time. I was crying so bad, but to my glory, before I was the next person to get shot, to my relief, there was a police siren that came in the distance, and I saw red and blue lights coming up the big hill, coming towards the gas station parking lot, flying like a NASCAR race, slamming on his brakes, and the police were pretty much shocked at what they saw. At the man immediately was handcuffed, and they put him in the back seat in the police car, and they took him on his merry way. The officer helped me and told me to stay safe. I drove a little bit after that night, about 15 miles, to see a Holiday Inn to stay. To my blessing, I rented the hotel for a night and got about a good 8 hours of sleep, and the next morning I brushed it off as I couldn't really remember, and I moved on with my life. But I was thankful that a police officer was on its way, but I wasn't thankful to see a devastating death. This person was a sicko that could probably steal everything in my truck, because I had a lot of money at the time, and I still kind of do have a lot of money. That's why I rented a hotel, and if it wasn't for the police officer to save my life, I wouldn't. And if I didn't wake up in time, all of that would have been stolen. All of my money. and I would have been dead meat hanging up at a taxidermist. Who knows? But I'm just glad that God was on my side that night. Number 5. So this dude was trying to hitch a ride as I was driving down the road to the grocery store. I had to run a few errands in town as my wife was sick in bed. She had a cold and called out for work. I was off as well, so that was pretty good because she needed cough syrup and all the other necessities. We didn't have a lot of groceries, so I was kind enough to be a good Samaritan as I saw a hitchhiker pull over on the side of the road. So I pulled over and gave the man a ride, but as soon as I did, I saw a machete knife. And I could point out it to be, in my knowledge, it was a big butcher knife. And this man, something about him gave me the creeps. He was an old man, probably over his 70s, with overalls and suspenders, and he looked like a crazy mental hillbilly. I don't know, but we have a pretty wealthy city, so it was kind of out of the character, a rare person to see, actually. But I have to accept people for who they are, but not when they are holding a knife, pointing it to me. As soon as I stopped, the man ran to my car and tried to open the door as it flung open as the man tried to get in, but I floored it and I was going at least 50 to 60 miles per hour, but the man was too old, he couldn't catch up. The old fart got what he deserved as he fell face first onto the ground, cutting himself on the cheek. As I saw in my mirror, I was laughing my ass off. I called the police and they came to his area, but couldn't find him, so they drove up the road a little bit and found him sitting on the ground doing God knows what. And they handcuffed him and they were on their way with him to jail. And let's just say I forgot about it, but I was never picking up any hitchhiker ever again. If you like this story, make sure to give it a like. And like I say, it's not really real stories. It's just fun and games. But thank you for whoever listens. I don't really have a lot of people that come to my YouTube channel or SoundCloud channel. But it's okay because some people follow me. But if you haven't, you appear to see my page one day out of a miracle. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's not a demand. I'm not forcing you, but thank you to the people that do subscribe. And thank you so much for listening to the story.